Just say what your position is, cause two separate videos.
My position is Kevin Underwood.
I was so scared, you know. I was like, I'm seeing stuff.
Kevin Underwood and Frank Spacey.
Huh?
Kevin Underwood and Frank Spacey.
I'm Tasia and I'm the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Is it true that now other actors that act with him would be seen as victims as well? I don't think so, because I think people would see the other actors in the show or actresses as victims as well. This means they won't victimize these kind of people, they won't view as these people are equally as bad as Kevin Spacey. But what happens is that now these other actors or actresses can actually speak up on how it feels to act with a person alleged for sexual assault and all these kind of problems. And in your world, they can't do so, because the moment that they do speak up, they will be only seen as people who try to make up for their mistakes, only be seen as people who try to disassociate themselves from Kevin Spacey. And this means under your world, this will continuously be connected to him. And this is a problem, because we don't think it is legitimate for you to keep on punishing the other actors who are actually victimized in a sense as well. Under our world, these actors will be given a voice to actually speak up on what they think happens to them and why they are victimized as well. And that voice is illegitimate under your world. Second, on the idea of victims and which side better gives closure towards victims. Because they told us that now it shows that the show stands on the sides of the victim. It shows how we can always move on from these people. I don't think so, because when you just remove the person from the show and you continue the show like how it used to be, you continue as if that person doesn't exist, it shows that you care more about your reputation or how society views you rather than the closure of the victims. Why so? Because removing Kevin Spacey from the show shows that you want to disassociate yourself from Kevin Spacey, and this equals to you disassociate yourself from the problems that Kevin Spacey faced. This means you don't want to be seen as people who are connected to these kind of problems. This means the victims under your world no longer feel closure with the show, because they basically feel that the show thinks that profit is more important than these kind of individuals who should receive attention. Because if it is true that the reason why they don't want Kevin Spacey to be in the show is because they think it would make their reputation bad, this means they also don't want to talk about these issues in public. These are when people feel that they are not standing with the victims. But third, let's look at the fans, because they told us about the idea of how it's okay for us to let go of these die-hard fans of Kevin Underwood. But if it's true that the cult of personality exists, we thought these die-hard fans are the ones that will always try to find a way to justify Kevin Spacey. They use this against the media. They would say that if it's true that Kevin Spacey is just an alleged sexual assault, then why should he be removed from the show? We believe that when the moment that we let him act, first, it won't piss this kind of individuals, therefore they won't even try to create this cult of personality. That means cult of personality will be happen less. But second, the other people who disagree or the other people who think that Kevin Spacey should not act would continue to criticize, and therefore, I'll explain to you later on why is continuously criticizing Kevin Spacey a good thing. Before that, Amrit.
So you can continuously criticize him and let the show restructure his legacy. In your world, the legacy will always be about him and never change the course of history. Can you tell me why that's justified for victims?
I'll tell you why the existence of Kevin Spacey in the House of Cards itself would continuously make people criticize and how it's better under our world. Going to my first argument, in which world are discussions more likely to happen and it's happened longer? We tell you under which world are we sure that sexual assault is something that is heinous, and which world portray this? Because let's look at their side, right? Because their side, they talk about they want to remove him from the story and villifying him. This means in the future you won't get like jobs or any future offers. But we thought this can be better achieved under our side. Why? Because the moment that Kevin Spacey kept on acting in the last season, this means we will still get the benefit of won't getting more offers in the future. Because in status quo, people already know that he's alleged for this sexual assault. This means it's better because under our world, we have social condemnation. This means every time people see Kevin Spacey on TV, they'll talk about him, and therefore Kevin Spacey's reputation will decrease as well. This means he will also not get future job offers. But why is social condemnation under our world better? Because you think when it's people that's pushing for ideas, this is when there are more people actually contribute to this. Why would more people get involved? The reason is that we feel that people will be more involved when they don't see change or when they want to see change being portrayed. Because why are the effects of social condemnation will happen less under your world? Because we believe that when Kevin Spacey is no longer seen like in the in the House of Cards, this means people will see less of a necessity in condemning him, because people will see, oh, he's already get enough of like him not being in the show to begin with. He already get enough of him not being able to act in the future. And if the Prime Minister want to talk to you about the idea of apologies, this is when apologies will become worse under your word, because now they feel like, oh, Kevin Spacey is just an alleged sexual assault, but then you cannot act anymore. This is when these apologists will apologize more, and this will happen worse. And also, under your word, people will actually see that these problems are actually being solved. That there is no need for us to push that Kevin Spacey is someone that is bad simply because we won't see him in the House of Cards anymore. And maybe that is a problem, because first, people simply believe that the problem is solved. There's no problem with sexual assault and whatnot. But second, people don't have the incentive to take a larger step. Why? Because larger steps are often intended to bring change. When there's no change that can be done, or when people cannot do change, this means their actions are first meaningless, or second, they don't think they can create a change that might be meaningful for them. This is because nothing triggers people to create change under your work, because people simply see, oh, it has been resolved. This issue has been resolved. I don't need to step in this sense. But second, why would under our make people becoming aware? Because in status quo, for example, we put tracking devices into people who commit such sexual assault. This means we want people to know their presence, and therefore people should be careful when they're around these individuals. This means showing them off from the screen is as if saying that this type of people can be excluded from our society, and we can exclude ourselves from them. The contrast under our work is that when you continuously see them on Netflix, this will continuously make people aware that these kind of individuals exist in your society, and they can always continue to be within your society. This means the reason why it's better under our work, because now people can actually know that these sexual assault do exist around them, and they need to continuously be careful. The moment that you can show Kevin Spacey away from House of Cards and him being invincible, this is when people see that this kind of individuals can always be shoved out from our work. We don't need to care as much. The reason why this is a necessity is that oftentimes people don't see the need of them knowing like where sexual assaults are, or even taking notes of the people around them, and believe that this is actually a problem. The conclusion to this argument is that first, how discussion should always continue, and mass discussion can happen better when it's intended to bring an effect, because that's when people are more likely to put more effort into complaining about the issue, because they want to see change. Because the point is that you should make discussion last longer, and then it actually happen better when Kevin Spacey is continuously being seen on screen and people are triggered by that.
Yep. Remember to say your name.
Information.
Yeah, so my name is Jun Wei, and I will be the GW. Okay. So basically, in their side, they are trying to say that this sexual problem is, in their side, they look like this sexual problem is a very little and it's not like a problem in their side. They are not taking any action, any strong action or punishment to this person. In our world, we think that this is a very serious problem that should take any very serious action to this problem. Yeah. So basically, before I talk about that, I have some rebuttal. Okay, in their side, in the both of their opposite speaker, they try to tell us that the audience, all the diehard fans will still affect if the show is continued. It will still think about Kevin Spacey and what he did, everything, and should not continue this show. But I think this is not true, and in our world, we have the best solution for this. We think that the movie should be continued because the actor and all the audience should not be the victim in this personal issue. It should be said that in their side, they think that this movie they think that he shouldn't be the movie shouldn't be continued, but we will, because they think about the guy and think about Kevin Spacey, what he did, but we think that we will never know what's the result and what will happen when we replace him and with a better actor, or with it will be a better impact or better influence to the society. Maybe they will think that, oh, they will change their mind and they will think that they will forget about him and think about another guy that maybe will be a better thing or better result for Netflix and all part of it, all part of like every person. Yeah.
Katrina,
Okay.
if you don't want fans to be victims, why is giving them a show that has massive differences from the show that they previously subscribed to a more justified stance than giving them one last season that is most true to House of Cards?
So basically, we continue the show and we change his character, or maybe we just remove his character. In our side, we have a bad. Why is it better compared to them? Because we don't end of the show that brings a lot of benefit and a lot of good impact that our first speaker had told you that there is a lot of good advantages and all kind of thing. We shouldn't stop it and we should continue this kind of education and can we say educate the people with this show. We shouldn't stop it because of some personal issue that is quite serious that we can just remove it. Why not just continue the show? And in their side, what action they are going to take is a totally disaster for the society and even for every person that involved in this. Like the actors, all the kind of audience that involved in this, they will be not only the guy that has been the 14 years old guy that has been sexual abused by him should be the victim, but in their world, everyone will be the victim, and it shouldn't be that. Yeah, it shouldn't be. It will be unfair to all of them, and that's why we want to continue the show. And nowadays, TV shows can easily convince or influence a person, especially kids and people they will follow what's the actor do and all the kind of thing. So the better thing is we just remove it and totally. I think we should totally remove him from the whole movie industry. And yeah, so I think that there is a lot better in our side compared to them. We have a lot of benefit, and the victim, the Kevin Spacey can be punished, and all the actor can continue their work and continue their life with a better way. Yeah. So basically, yeah, no problem.
Do you think people who watch House of Cards are people who will endorse, future watchers of House of Cards? Do you think they will be? It's fair to assume they are endorsers of sexual assault.
I think that since we have changed all his character and removed him, I think there won't be any problem or any bad image, that bad influence that can be taken, that can be that can be give to the society. I think that the society, because we change a lot of things, so the society can learn a lot. Without cutting everything off. Yeah, so I'm proudly to propose.
Time.
Yes. You guys should time. Oh my god, I can't even see myself. Yeah, man. MacBook is racist.
do I need to time?
Because you want.
Yeah, and just make sure that I don't speak over.
Oh, right. Say your name.
Okay, my name is Maxx. I will be the opposition whip and also the last speaker for the round. Dear panel, unfortunately the world of the opposition is an untrue world. There was actually four important clarifications that must be made in order to break down the government case. Note that the government bench often associated with analysis of actual abuse, not allegations of abuse. In this case, note that all of this were allegations. Kevin, if those allegations were true, and we are talking about cases of abuse, Kevin Spacey would face massive criminal or civil liability as well. It is untrue that statute of limitation prevents any future or prosecution or any criminal or legal liability. The same legal liability that was placed on Bill Cosby or the packages that people are currently negotiating for the Harry Weinstein victims already show that the legal industry is able to resolve this mechanism, and these are issues of only allegation, not of issues of abuse. The second thing to also note is that Anthony Grab was the only victim here. Despite Kevin Spacey working in the industry for a very long time, or working with many different individuals, there have been no reports. Not only that, unlike many other sexual abusers or sexual perpetrators, during this span of time of 4 or 5 days, usually a lot of victims would have already come out to support the testimony of Anthony Grab. But unfortunately here, that was not the case. And the case of Anthony Grab can be seen as the only outlier in this case. But secondly, even the question of whether or not Anthony Grab was a victim was also a bit uncertain here. And it is fair for us to do so. One, this was not an issue of sexual assault, because if you look at the detail, it was just him being in a drunken state, putting his body against them. There was no proceeding of any violation. In fact, when Anthony Grab was uncountable, none of the harms pursued. Right? The last thing to also note is that unlike many other sexual perpetrators, like Kevin Spacey was the first one to immediately came up with a response, and his version of the story does corroborate with the version of Anthony Grab, that he was extremely drunk, he was unaware of what he's doing, therefore he feels like he feels like even though he might be responsible, he truly apologized. Guys, please keep quiet. The one thing to note here, the things to note here is that the things on the ground are extremely unsettled. But the second thing to also note here, that this can't be the only mechanism for recourse, especially when things are unfair. And it's also important to note that this man is not utterly evil. Now we move on to three different issues in today's debate. The first of which is that, is this catharsis? And today's we already told you that very often truth and actual prosecution is already a vilification, and a better vilification than what they are trying to talk about. To assume that fans any association with the Frank Underwood character is people who are apologists of sexual assault is utterly wrong. And I'll explain this further, right? But at this point is to note that catharsis cannot exist, especially when you are uncertain, and to allow the Netflix industry to preemptively place a value judgment on possibly an innocent man is utterly unfair. But sure.
I'm very confused. According to your first two speakers, you are going to remove him and end. You're not going to remove him. You're going to end the show with him. So in your world, are you happy with continuing the show with him? Are you going to forgive him? What's your position?
I think it's perfectly fair for Netflix or media agency to move away from controversies to strategize their future contracts around what's going to happen. I think it's okay for them to move away from controversy, but to vilify him and sabotage his personal media career is something that is extremely unfair. Now we move on to a very interesting question. What is the difference without Kevin Spacey? To note that in status quo, people are already invested, and people are invested with the Frank Underwood character and not the Kevin Spacey character. The reason for this is that in House of Cards, in the last season, there are many uncertain things. Number one, the death of Zoe Barnes and the media actually knowing about who and how actually Frank Underwood was connected to the crime, especially when there's the cell phone that they found out that was connected to him and only revealed in the later season, and people are still uncertain about that. But secondly, there's also discoveries about the murder of Peter Russo, or the congressman that was specifically designed to kill, and as the association of Doug's temper. Therefore, just to remove him out of these things would mean that people will not give an answer to issues that are already invested in. What does this mean? Number one, this means that people would not watch the House of Cards. But to note that is a very important thing to note is that House of Cards was one of the pioneers to attract a lot of individuals to join and subscribe the Netflix program, the Netflix subscription. Unlike many other individuals, I think something is happening here.
No, continue.
Unlike many other media show house, like people could subscribe to one show and then when they don't want to do this, they can move away from any other show. There are no other shows like House of Cards in Netflix or in any other show. Therefore, I would assume that people would just not subscribe with Netflix anymore. But secondly, in order to explore the characters on the ground, Netflix would need to replace the same types of character, and therefore people would already know that the preparation of the next season will just be a buffer season, therefore people would not subscribe it. But the second thing to note in this debate is that to assume that people will just glorify him just because of his celebrity-like status is wrong. First of all, is that I think, to be fair, his celebrity status is the reason why he's so easily prosecutable. That any stories to the media house mean that there will be existing scrutiny, there will be even more investigation, and there will be even more attempt for Netflix to take these matters to their own hand. But also note at this point, what would Kevin Spacey involvement in the show would be allowed to do? I think while his character, like no one aspires to be Kevin Spacey, Frank Underwood guy, he's a pretty horrible guy who abused the system to be in power. But his character does allow the world to be exposed of several different important issues. What is this? First of all, the first issue that Frank Underwood's existence allows to do is the exploration of possibly a gay president. What does this mean? This goes on to show the heteronormative pressure that is placed onto American politics and how he is able to show and explore what are the existing struggles of a gay politician. But the second thing to note is that at this point, he was also, like the Frank Underwood character, unlike many other characters, was able to use his wife as a character and the prepping of his wife. And his wife had a very important say in this. This means that there was existing exploration of the character of what is it like to be the first woman and what is the position of power. Do note that this character and this exploration would not have taken place if the Frank Underwood character is completely diminished. But the second thing to also note is that it is unfortunate, and this is a very important that none of the team explored. What if the truth is Anthony Grab was wrong and it was just an over-exaggeration of the issue? I think Netflix would face the wrath of the media community in the world for preemptively placing a value judgment on an innocent man that people will not likely associate with him. It is true that he is neither evil nor sane, but to preemptively sabotage a person and possibly an innocent person and to subscribe our value on a person just because we think this is the best way for the world to subscribe to justice cannot be the world that we must support. You must side with your opposition.